Bruce Wolf and Tim Slagle on the weekly wrap. Hi, Tim, season 2. Woo!
Hey, I'm so excited.
And apparently you can't hide it. Yeah, season 2. I mean, you think of all the shows that make it to a season 2, like Bridgerton. Are you watching that on Netflix?
Yeah, I did watch that.
You actually watched it? It's a poor man's Downton Abbey, and I'm embarrassed to say that I'm watching it with my wife, but you watched it.
See, with my wife. I'm married too.
Yeah, there you go. Don't spoiler alert. Don't tell me if they ever consummate the marriage, the princess and
it is so
strutting
tedious.
Black guy. Yeah,
it is so tedious. I hate you. I hate you too. Whoa, my hand is on your breast. Oh, there's my sister.
So you gave it away. You gave it away. I mean, it's just I don't know why it's really trash TV, but we're hooked on it. I mean, the premise that she wasn't taught about sex at all, even though it was in mythical 1813 England, and he was using the withdrawal method. Excuse me. Because he didn't like his father. It's just stupid. It's preposterous, but here we are. And season 2, and we want to welcome our new affiliates, WJOB, 1230 AM, 104.7 FM, airing 2 to 3 p.m. Fridays. You know that WJOB is the one-time home of not only Gene Shepard, but also Felicia Middlebrooks, Tim. And I believe that Felicia Middlebrooks was actually in A Christmas Story, had a cameo role. She went WJOB time, 7:37, time to shoot your eye out. I think she was in that. And we also have JEDTV in Northwest Indiana, as well as VPOD in Chicago, Peoria, and via Roku as well. Yeah. So
Roku sounds like a Japanese television station.
I either that or some game I should be playing, every morning before Wordle. So let us turn our attention to serious matters here, Tim. Violence in Chicago. Last Saturday, there was somebody was killed at the Bean, and it was absolutely horrible what happened. And Lori Lightfoot was fiddling while Rome was burning. She was down in Texas at the time, saying that I'm not going to let anybody tell me what I can read. And she was reading To Kill a Mockingbird, which who is banning To Kill a Mockingbird? Somebody is. But what did that have to do with the Bean? She reminded me of this. You're a youngster. You may not remember this. Mayor Blandick in Florida during a snowstorm in 1979. And he lost to Jane Byrne as a result of that because he wasn't there. Not that mayors can actually do anything. Like Daley, Richard M., was here for the flood in 92. And I mean, what did he do? Cut a ribbon over the collapsing bridge? But now there's the riot at the Bean.
Oh my gosh!
On Saturday, and I've got
it's not like a team won or anything. It's just a riot for the sake of a riot.
I don't know, what they weren't protesting anything. Roe versus Wade hasn't been decided yet, and they didn't look like they would be protesting that anyway. My suggestion is let's take the Bean down, and we take down Christopher Columbus, or move the Bean to Roosevelt and Harding, where they can have at it. And Roosevelt and Harding was where I was born. But I'm getting to be like, I don't know if you remember Wally Phillips, and Steve Dahl used to make fun of this. The old lady from Tinley Park who would call in and say, "I don't want to go downtown, Wally. I'm afraid." Well, I'm like the old lady from Tinley Park right now. I'm afraid to go downtown. And
that's not supposed to happen at the Bean. I mean, that's supposed to, that's kind of the tourist area.
Well, so maybe Saturday nights, as Elton John, that tough guy, said, Saturday night's all right for fighting. And so I wonder, when are there certain hours? Basically, they should give hours for people like us. Here's when it's safe to go downtown. Like on a weekday
that's
from
not
3
a bad
to 5
idea.
p.m.
Rather than have a curfew, just right. Kind of like midnight basketball. We'll have midnight rioting. If you want to riot, you're allowed to riot between the hours of 11 and 1.
There we go. I totally forgot about midnight basketball. That was one of the great projects of the Great Society, as I recall. There was Head Start, which they found out never worked, and then there was that, and
that was the Clinton basketball. Gore, I think, that brought the midnight basketball. And it was kind of, it's like, oh, we have inner city youth causing trouble. What do we do?
Yeah.
Let's
Speaking
start
of
a
that,
basketball league, which is
or
kind
how
of.
about why don't we start a boys band? Did you see? Did you see? There was somebody said that they had come out of a musical on Saturday night downtown, and there was a phalanx of police. And I'm thinking, is the Music Man in Chicago yet? Is Hugh Jackman in Chicago? Because I'd like to say that we, Tim, have trouble right here in the Windy City. That starts with T, that rhymes with P, that stands for the cesspool that this city is. And what we need is a boys band. You know, the boys band can play during halftime of the midnight basketball games, I guess. So, yeah.
What was Lori Lightfoot doing? Was she in Texas?
She was in
for?
Texas saying that I can read whatever book I want to read. And what does that have to do with what was going? Well, then she institutes the curfew, which of course is illusory, right? I mean, it's not actually going to work. But you know, there is some hope, because I saw a map the other day and it showed that LA County had a greater population than like all these red states in America. And so that's what's going to rule, and forget about federalism. However, a leading candidate for the mayoralty in LA is a guy named Rick Caruso, who is a member of the Reagan Foundation. And he's pro-police. Can you believe that the times they are changing and everybody's going to become a Rudy Giuliani, although Eric Adams in New York hasn't done that yet? But it just does seem like we've hit a wall on the progressivism regarding the police. Even Biden doesn't say defund the police anymore. So,
well, defund doesn't mean defund anymore. It means hire mental health experts.
Oh, I see. So that's a euphemism.
Changing definitions all over.
All right. Well, sorry. Now that we've solved that problem, let us turn to Bette Midler, the Divine Miss M, or who I like to call Marie Antoinette, because she said, "Let them suck breasts." Basically, over this infant formula problem, she said, "Why don't they just breastfeed? Like nobody needs formula anymore." Okay, thank you, Bette Midler. We've gone natural in recent decades, if you can, but a lot of women do have problems. I mean, I understand the last child you bore was probably in 1789, and went to the guillotine with you, but.
You would think a cow like that would know how milk is made.
Oh man, that's you have sunk so low. Here, 7 minutes and 47 seconds into our season 2 debut, Tim Slagle. You know, Bette Midler is quite old. How old is she? Do you realize? You probably know this. She was on Johnny Carson's last show. Do you remember that? You don't remember that?
I do not remember that.
I did not know that. She actually even crawled on the desk and sang to him. Huh. That's Johnny Carson's last show. I mean, we've been through Leno since then, Conan, Dan Rather. I'm switching over to CBS news anchor since Walter Cronkite. It's all a blur to me. Anyway, yeah, thank you for the information, Bette Midler. So there's a Susman trial going on right now. And of course, we are taped, so I don't know exactly what's going to happen. But are you familiar with the Michael Susman trial? He's the
he was
Perkins
attorney.
Coie, the Clinton law firm. And Durham has finally brought this one case to trial. And I guess he's hoping that this is going to lead to bigger fish. But the whole point is that Susman told the FBI that he wasn't working on behalf of any client when he rushed to them with talk about misinformation. The information connecting Trump to Russia that was totally illusory, but the whole idea was to stir the pot and get the media involved in this, and right on the cusp of the 2016 election. And his defense is, I did this as a citizen. I didn't do this as a member of the law firm. But then he billed the Clintons for this. So,
well, here's the thing, though, is if he would have revealed who he was talking to the FBI for, it might have led to suicide. He was protecting.
Okay, Vince Foster breath. Seriously now. Seriously now. But in any event, I was reading Andy McCarthy, National Review, and I dropped his name because I actually know Andy McCarthy personally. But he said that he wrote a column saying that it looks like it's going to be not the easiest obstacle to overcome in getting a conviction, because it is Washington, and they have all these people who are connected. Everybody's connected in Washington. It's all Democratic too, and it'll be hard to convict a guy like that. So, unless you got a change of venue.
I just read, and I don't know if this is accurate, is that that one of the jurors is on Susman's daughter's crew team.
Okay. Well, everybody's connected in D.C. I mean, what are you going to do about it? So,
if I remember right, the crew, that's how you get into a college that you're not qualified to.
Sure. If you're a member of Full House and you're buying your way in. I don't know that much about criminal trials, but I sure would have used one of my peremptory challenges to get rid of that juror, but maybe there's nobody else left in the pool. So you had to have somebody there. So that was the least bad juror that you could select. So who knows? I hope the whole case doesn't blow up after 2 years. I mean, the whole conspiracy thing, if we don't get this, first conviction, well, we'll see. Anyway, all right. Nice first segment, season 2. Woo, woo, coming back. The disinformation board, Mary Poppins, is gone. She's gone with the east wind. Is
open
out of
the
there.
Umbrella.
Bruce Wolf and Tim Slagle on the Weekly Wrap.
True, the White House is in a bit of a feud with Amazon founder Jeff Bezos. It all started with this tweet from President Biden, which he wrote that the wealthiest corporations should, quote, pay their fair share to bring down inflation. That prompted Bezos to weigh in, writing the president is conflating two separate issues and misleading the American people. The White House took issue with that assessment, with a spokesman saying, quote, it doesn't require a huge leap to figure out why Bezos would take issue with the president's comments.
Bruce Wolf and Tim Slagle on the Weekly Wrap, and that was a little wrap there about Jeff Bezos. Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk are both breaking bad. The billionaires are turning. It's the billionaire revolt, Tim.
It seems that way. I want to know what a fair share is. I want to know exactly. It's one of those. It's not fair. Okay, what's fair? Give me numbers.
Here's the thing. So Bezos criticizes Biden for conflating high corporate profits with inflation, but that happens to poll very well, and I can understand it. First of all, as long as they have to pay and I don't have to pay, but it's a very populist thing to come up with. The problem is. People, the billionaires or the Milton Friedman economists aren't explaining this well enough to the hoi polloi, and because it sounds like it would make sense if you cut their profits, then the prices won't be so high, and then there won't be any inflation. Now, true, the tax would just be passed on to the consumer, but then we can have price controls, and then we can have shortages, and then we can mandate production, and then we can be Venezuela. Yay! So but they always have to do just one more thing to reach totalitarian status, because it's never enough. So
every shoplifter I've ever met uses the excuse, do you know how much money they're making?
Well, it's the Robin Hood exercise.
Sure.
It's Dennis Moore stealing lupins, and then finding out that the redistribution program doesn't work as well as he thought, because then the poor start complaining about what they're getting. So yeah, it's fun to see Bezos, because you talk about getting his just desserts. I mean, it's the Washington Post. You signed on for this progressivism. You deserve it. All of a sudden,
there is a little bit of Schadenfreude there.
Or even Schadenfreude, as they say,
sure.
with the umlaut over. So, all right. Thank goodness that we got some billionaires. We've got Ken Griffin on our side, or maybe, I don't know. We'll talk about that later. I mean, is Irvin a Democrat or Republican? But it's a nice thing. Whatever ever happened to the Koch brothers? Are they quiet now?
Well,
Or,
one's dead.
okay, that would be one thing. That would be harmful.
that makes you quiet.
But I like Chesterton said, we should extend the franchise to the dead. That is, we should not break with tradition. So I would hope that. And I'm certain he left some money for some great causes. But okay.
Come on! You don't think that his offspring were just waiting?
right.
They were looking at manuals for yachts and private planes.
I would think that they had gotten enough yachts during their lifetime. All right. Well, thank you, Jeff Bezos, for coming over to the dark side, at least temporarily. Special appearance on the dark side. So it was mentioned in that report about the Disinformation Board, which has now been disbanded. And I am a slight fan of this Nina Jankowicz because I like to come up with parodies myself. Do we have her at all, Nina Jankowicz? Yeah, there.
Is really quite ferocious. It's when a huckster takes some lies and makes them sound precocious by saying them in Congress or a mainstream outlet. So disinformation's origins are slightly less atrocious.
Oh yes. Oh yes. She put herself out there. I mean, I know what it's like, karaoke, putting yourself out there. And I like when she did have this one line. It's how you hide a little lie. It's how you hide a little lie. That's pretty clever. The problem is that she's getting us very close to the Orwellian existence, and a spoonful of sugar really doesn't help the arsenic go down. So I was looking, Tim, at all the songs from Mary Poppins. There are so many familiar songs there that could be used, for example, for
the Disinformation Board,
or to describe her ouster. We're getting a jolly holiday from Nina. Nina, just go fly a kite. Don't care if you're erudite. See, if you do one line for a parody, then you don't bore everybody too much. You move on to the next song. Chim chim chiroo, sweep out your office, baby. You're through. And finally, super gal with fragile ego expelled out of office. Now, that's not bad. All right, that's 1 out of 5 isn't bad, but it's not up to her standards. But I'm sure she can drown her sorrows at the karaoke bar.
Go feed the birds.
Another song there, and we're all going to be starving for our tuppence. Yeah. Oh boy. Well, let us move on to abortion. Yay! Boy, a nice segue there. Well, we haven't done this in a few months. It's season 2, by the way, of the weekly wrap with Bruce Wolf and Tim Slagle on all sorts of outlets. Tim, do you have them all memorized?
Yeah, JEDTV, Roku,
JEDTV.
WJOB, VPOD-TV, and Chicago and Peoria, channel 59.3.
Oh boy, you got it all. Felicia Middlebrooks, an alum of WJOB. I found out it would be nice to have her. She's not doing anything right now. Could she do some time and temp for us in the middle of this recorded show? It would be relevant. Some other time I'll talk about some of the problems I got for criticizing Felicia Middlebrooks for having attempted a shakedown with Jesse Jackson of WBBM. But,
I remember that.
Yeah. It's just one little blemish on a career, and it wasn't really a shakedown. She was just trying to use leverage there. All right. So as far as the abortion case goes, Roe versus Wade, and we've only been arguing about this for 50 years. Is there anything new to say about it? No, just to demonstrate and get the whole thing over with. It is kind of interesting that the new Justice Jackson, it has not said that the demonstrators should go away. So we've got this is a nice precedent. It's a beautiful thing.
Can we give out her address here on the?
I would hope so. I would hope it'd be mandatory to give out her address. And then there was the Department of Human Services had a memo saying that they fear that there's going to be violence as a result of this decision when it comes out. But in part of the memo, they were talking about a fear of having right-wing violence. Well, you're not going to get right-wing violence if Roe versus Wade is overturned, but they can't bring themselves to say that it's going to be left-wing violence. It's going to be the women in the pink hats.
No, left-wing protests are mostly peaceful.
Mostly, yeah. I mean, if you look at what happened at the Bean over the weekend, it was, I mean, one person died, but it was just people running around having a good time mostly. So as far as the abortion decision, I'm looking forward to the gubernatorial debate when Pritzker is debating the Republican nominee. And I'm sure that a Carol Maureen type, even though she's retired, will be taken out of mothballs to ask a question to Pritzker, to wit, Governor Pritzker, do you favor a woman's right to abort a fetus that may be genetically predisposed to morbid obesity? And then he could self-immolate right on the spot. It would be
a very late term.
Well, I guess that might be his de facto term limit, depending on how he answered that question. But an interesting thing, in the primaries a couple of days ago, there was a pretty big Democratic turnout. We're all waiting for this great Republican tsunami in November, but the Democrats came out, and you have to think that it's because of this Dobbs decision that's going to be coming down. So they're angry. It could temper the Republican victory. What say you, Tim?
Or maybe it's just because they haven't taken down the ballot drop boxes yet.
Okay, here we go. All right. Well, we'll get to the 2000. You are the 2001st mule. Okay. Oh, my goodness. That'll be an interesting. We're the only ones who actually, the only ones extant who would talk about 2000 mules. Nobody will talk about it, apparently. It's the first line in Wikipedia about it is a false documentary. But we'll get to that. Now, there was an NBC News poll that says 60% of people want Roe versus Wade to be upheld. But then you get down to the innards of the polls, and most people don't like the idea of allowing a baby to be aborted at 9 months.
Sure.
And you could really corner the Democrats on that one. So,
well, I would like to see how many people actually knew that Roe versus Wade is, because I mean, the propaganda is if Roe versus Wade goes away, that the abortion will be illegal. And it's,
right. People don't understand there's a thing called federalism. And
exactly.
There's subsidiarity. We try to return this to the states. Not everything is black and white that way. Maybe they could, have SNL do a sketch. I didn't watch it. I couldn't bear to. I can't watch SNL anymore. But they had Kate McKinnon imitating Justice Coney. I want to say Coney. Imitating her, and I was kind of hoping they'd have her as Coney talking to her as the late Ruth Bader Ginsburg, who would say something to the effect of, "Well, we wanted abortion to decrease the surplus population of people we don't like." Try that one on for size. Anyway, all right. Boy, we've handled a lot of hot topics here. When we come back, we're going to talk about Tuesday's primary. Pennsylvania, of course, is the bellwether state, it looks like. And, what else have we got going? Oh, the Buffalo shootings. That's horrible. Look, you got an upper for me next segment? Change the background, although I kind of like it. Bruce Wolf and Tim Slagle on the weekly wrap.
We're looking at the mass shooting in Buffalo, New York, Saturday, when an 18-year-old white supremacist wearing full-body armor, carrying an assault rifle, opened fire on a supermarket in a black neighborhood of Buffalo. We just went to Buffalo. Now we're joined by Ibram X. Kendi, the Andrew W. Mellon Professor in the Humanities at Boston University, founding director of the Boston University Center for Anti-Racist Research, contributing writer at The Atlantic, where his new piece, published Well, it looks like it was published yesterday, but it was actually published last month before the attack in Buffalo, headlined, "The Danger More Republicans Should Be Talking About. White Supremacist Ideology is Harmful to All, Especially the Naive and Defenseless Minds of Youth."
Bruce Wolf and Tim Slagle on the Weekly Wrap. Ibram X. Kendi. Well, Tim, you talk about one of the great race hustlers of all time, huh?
Yeah, he's
Jesse
actually
Jackson.
he's actually the second generation of race hustler, isn't he?
Yeah, I mean,
kinda...
Jesse Jackson has to envy him. I mean, what was he charging for? Like 40 grand a speech, or maybe I'm underestimating it. The interesting thing is, and by the way, Cujo's as MJ, Michael Jordan would say to that anchor woman, I didn't realize Nancy Dickerson had risen from the dead. Yeah. Hey, I love it because I carry around HD makeup, and I haven't been on TV in 10 years, but just in case a television show like this one would break out, I put it on. An interesting thing, and I mean, the Buffalo thing, it's horrible. Of course, it's terrible for so many reasons. But I mean, if you really wanted to get technical about it, now I can see why Kevin Williamson was fired from the Atlantic, because that article in the Atlantic by Kendi. I'd like a counterpoint. I was reading Kevin Williamson in National Review today, and he was saying, if you actually look at it, white people are not doing their fair share of hate crimes, because the white people represent 61% of the American populace, and are committing only 55% of the hate crimes. So we're not. So we got a 6-point margin we can fill if we. Yeah, right. A lot of margin to play with there. No, it's a horrible thing. But I mean, this kid who did this. I heard another thing too. I don't know if this is true or not. Are you a firearms owner? Are you an expert at this? Somebody was saying that the security guard, who, I mean, he gave his life, and he's a hero. But when you're facing somebody wearing body armor like that, you're supposed to try to shoot for the groin. I don't know if people can be that accurate, but in any event, no, the kid's manifesto, or whatever you want to call it, he's calling Rupert Murdoch a Jew. And I mean, we'd love to have you, Rup, no question about it. But if you can't get Fox News on your side, then there's some problems there. So yeah, and then there's this whole thing about replacement theory, that everybody believes that it exists. It's just that the Democrats are allowed to talk about it and celebrate it. Dick Durbin, New York Times, everybody. But Republicans can't talk about it at all, and can't be upset about it at all. So it's just interesting, just the way the media work nowadays.
Democrats celebrated it until the Hispanics started voting Republican.
Totally. I mean,
and then all of a sudden, now it's a bad thing.
And blacks, and one of the ironies is that this kid shouldn't have been shooting black people because they're not immigrants, and also their population is decreasing. It's gone down from like almost 13 to almost 12% of the population now. But yeah, as you say, you've got Hispanics, you've got a guy like Trump, who was getting a greater black vote than prior Republicans. So replacement theory doesn't necessarily work, because there's something about the American dream. Americanism takes over, and it levels the ethnic differences, or in short, everybody wants to get rich and be an American, and they don't want to sit back in their tribes. So yeah, replacement theory isn't even a good idea from anybody. But whatever. Replacement is almost necessary, though, because with abortion and birth control, we're not having kids. No, absolutely. I mean, that's who's going to pay my Social Security? Exactly. Well, how many kids do you have, Tim? None. Okay, I had 5. Okay, so I'll can I borrow a couple? I'm giving you some of my Social Security. You got it, buddy. I got to pay in something here. So yeah, it's a horrible thing that happened, but the hysteria, and then of course Biden has to go out there. Did he go to Waukesha? I don't remember if Biden actually. Well, it was cold. It was cold at that time of year, and he's frail. Yeah, and then you blame Tucker Carlson for that, but that's like blaming Rachel Maddow for the congressional softball shootings. It's I think Tucker Carlson's got to love it. He's grandiose enough to think that he causes things to happen like this. But it's a lot of hysteria right now. And then somebody was talking about this David Leonhardt, who writes for the New York Times, and actually he's not that bad on COVID, but he has a daily newsletter that he puts out. And he was talking about hate crime stats, that there have been, like, over the last decade, 450 murders, and 3/4 of them were by right-wing white supremacists. And I was trying to do the math, and don't test me on this, but that comes out to about 30 by white supremacists per year, which is like 2 or 3 weeks of Chicago now. Isn't it? So
that's a
difficult.
That's a good weekend.
Yeah, there you go. So there'll be some hysteria over this, and nothing will change. It's just difficult to find a kid like this. Everybody wants to blame the authorities, but I mean, he was tested, and then he didn't have a record, and some people will fall in the cracks.
They have red flag laws in New York,
right? Even that didn't work. And I'm not necessarily blaming New York for this. It's just a tragic situation. Turning right now to comedy, though, and that's our Illinois primary coming up. And I'm a guy who's going to vote basically just on the ads. I'm not going to take a look at any of the issues. I mean, I have my opinions on them, but Irvin's ads are the anti and the pro ones are really comical. There's an ad against Irvin. And meet Richard Irvin. There's an ad against him. There's one in favor of him. I don't know. This sounds like a one in favor of him, in which he says he will never pardon Mike Madigan. Well, he won't, because he can't, because Mike Madigan's charged with a federal crime and he's the governor. So you talk about the confusion with people having about Roe versus Wade and the federal government and of course, like, Richard Irvin doesn't know that. Also, but then there's the Democratic governors took out an ad against him because they knew that he was going to be the front runner, and it's kind of close right now, but they figured properly so that he'd be the front runner, and he's got all that Ken Griffin money. But their ad blasted him. The Democratic governors. I mean, these are the people who, in our blue state, support the Soros-inspired Kim Fox, and he defended criminals. As a lawyer, he defended criminals. Well, that's what criminal defense attorneys do. They're you want to get rid of the Sixth Amendment all of a sudden? Well, actually, who needs the lawyers if you're Kim Fox? You just let the people out of jail before there's any trial, and never actually force them to face a judge or jury. So those ads are crazy. A mixed bag in the Tuesday primaries. Some pro-Trump, some negative Trump. The intriguing guy is the Pennsylvania guy, Fetterman. Is that his name, Tim? He's kind of an interesting guy. He's charismatic, a tall drink of water. He comes off as everyman, but he's got a Harvard graduate degree. So I love.
That's over though already, isn't it?
No,
the Pennsylvania.
Well, he won. He won
the primary.
He won the primary.
Okay.
I mean, it's still, there was the Oz versus McCormick one.
They're still counting there. Sure.
And
still counting.
Whose mules are going to come through on that one? All right. I know what you're talking about. So, all right,
he won the Democrat primary. Okay, that's why.
Yeah, right.
I wasn't.
You don't pay attention. Nice segue by me. Thank you very much to 2,000 Mules. All right, this is. I mean, our producer Chris wanted me to talk about it. You probably believe in the Dinesh D'Souza documentary, and I got nothing against Dinesh, because I love that thing that he that hit job that he did on Obama when he did this reductio ad absurdum, saying that Obama was just trying to please his absentee drunk father and was taking it out on the country. I buy that, but this thing is a little difficult, because this, of course, is that there's these mules who stuff the ballot boxes for the Democrats in the 2020 election, and they use cell phone data. And I'm an expert on cell phone data, no question about it. I know all that metadata stuff, that just because you can't listen in on a conversation, if you see in the metadata that there were 25 phone calls to a brothel, you got to think that a guy was doing. So I'm pretty savvy that way, tech savvy that way. But they weren't able to make the connection that these pings from cell phones are necessarily related to people who were stuffing ballot boxes. But I'll let you take the other side here, Tim. What do you think?
Well, they found the pings of people that traveled around to all the ballot boxes. I mean, that's what they look for. Someone who chose a route that would go, and it's not just driving by the ballot boxes. I mean, those pings are accurate. They're accurate enough that they've arrested people for January 6th by their cell phone pings. They can tell who was in the Capitol and who was not in the Capitol. I mean, they're pretty accurate.
But they actually have stuffed the ballot box. I mean, look, if Tucker Carlson isn't willing to talk to this guy, and Tucker will, he'll believe in lots of, speaking of January 6th conspiracy theory. So I haven't
heard a good explanation of why it's inaccurate.
All right.
It seems to me that people are just ignoring it because they want it to go away.
You get the final word on it. We'll be back with more on the Weekly Wrap.
This is a top to what we use on stage, but it's very, very special because if you can see, the numbers all go to 11. Look, right across the board. 11, 11,
and most of
11,
the amps go up to 10.
Exactly.
Does that mean it's louder? Is it any louder?
Well, it's one louder, isn't it? It's not 10. You see, most blokes are going to be playing at 10. You're on 10 here, all the way up, all the way up, all the way up. You're on 10 on your guitar. Where can you go from there? Where?
I don't know.
Nowhere, exactly. What we do is if we need that extra push over the cliff, you know what we do?
Put it up to
11, exactly. One louder.
Why don't you just make 10 louder and make 10 be the top number and make that a little louder?
These go to 11.
Well, I hate to
all the way to 11.
Yeah, I hate to see Meathead looking good. That's a classic moment. So apparently there's going to be a sequel to Spinal Tap. Not a remake, but a sequel, and it's the longest span between the original and the sequel in movie history, I understand. It's like 40 years. And I mean, I had enough with the first one. I liked the first one. I didn't celebrate it as much as everybody else did. I saw it in the movies. My wife and I went with another couple. They were a couple of years older than we were, and they didn't get it at all. My wife kind of liked it. I had this an experience that I've never had before and never since. I was like bored for 59 seconds out of every minute, and then like every minute I laughed real hard. And it's not like I'm not a fan of the Christopher Guest genre. I mean, I love Best in Show is my favorite of that, with Fred Willard doing his Joe Garagiola impersonation, talking about a dog show that in baseball terms, because he doesn't understand anything about dogs. So, and Larry Miller telling somebody on a roof to jump. So I love a lot of those, and I like this one too, but I didn't sell it. I'm sure you.
This was the first one, wasn't it? This was the first one of that genre, was the Spinal Tap. Right. The rest were all follow up. So yeah, it's it took them a little while to get it,
no. I mean, a lot of people think this is superb. This is the creme de la creme. You don't agree with that?
It's kind of like an improv show. You said it best. 59 minutes bored out of your skull, and then one really good laugh.
See, I just thought I was a Philistine, but okay, maybe you're one with me. Look, it's not as good a mockumentary as 2000 Mules. If you want to revisit that topic. Anyway, so it's coming to a theater near you in about a year, I believe.
Why? Are there any original ideas? I mean,
Well, a
it
sequel
seems
to
like
this.
everything
easy.
seems like a remake now.
Well, this is not a remake, and it's at least
remake or a sequel, or
Look, you're preaching to the choir. I can't watch any Marvel movies or DC, whatever. I don't care about that.
I'm done with Men in Tights.
Right. I'm with you. You know, I like the trash TV like Bridgerton. 2 seasons they got out of that garbage.
They're going to have 7. Were 7 books. Each book was based on one of the Bridgerton children being married. So you've got plenty more coming your way.
Oh no, my plate is full. So so Portillo's is coming up with do you say vegan or potato? Vegan dog, vegan hot dog. Portillo's is coming up with it, and there was a review of it by Amy Levitt, but there was a review of it by Louisa Chu of the Tribune, which I think is a great name for a food reviewer. Anyway, Portillo's, I'm wondering, with the vegan dog, will it be mandatory to put ketchup on it?
Yeah,
I understand.
So.
I know we need to talk to Bob Surratt about that, because he is the arbiter of Chicago hot dogs, but it doesn't really qualify as a hot dog, so you probably should put.
I have a feeling that the people that order the vegan dog will be the women that do that will be putting ranch dressing on it.
That has too many carbs, probably a lot of sodium. I'm not sure. Anyway, all right. Pivoting very quickly from that to among our final topics here. Oh, Drew Peterson's lawyer apparently is getting religion. That's Joel Brodsky. I interviewed him once. He may actually disclose what happened to Stacey Peterson, according to his discussions with Drew Peterson. I mean, the problem is isn't there attorney-client privilege, but whatever.
To be an attorney for a client, don't you have to get money? I think if you go like 20 years without getting paid,
then you get to disclose everything.
Right? Then you're no longer he's no longer your client.
I understand. So I was interviewing him on the radio a few years ago, and there was somebody. It was while the Drew Peterson shenanigans were going on, and there was a missing woman that was discovered after a few years. And he said, "See," and I said, "Yes, Joel, but here's the thing: where you have one woman who was found was murdered in a bathtub, and then the fourth wife, that's the third wife, and then the fourth wife is missing, that it's 99.99% certain that woman was murdered as well." It reminds me a little bit of the OJ trial, when they tried to argue that just because somebody was reported on for a domestic battery incident doesn't make them a murderer, because OJ, had that rap on him. But where there was a domestic battery incident and the wife wound up getting murdered, it's the guy who was involved in the domestic battery incident. And I mean, this is the kind of stuff. Look, hey, there's a DC jury that may acquit Michael Susman too, so you never know about these things.
Maybe it's
but he's getting religion right now, Drew Peterson. So there is the latest rage, and it's a long time in coming, but I believe it's the University of Illinois, Chicago, I'm not certain, that they are trying to fight fatphobia. That's the latest thing. That's the latest discrete and insular minority, or insulin minority, they're discriminated against all the time. They want a ban on the word obesity. And they say, look, we know people should eat healthy, but there's so much discrimination against fat people. And I mean, it actually is true. But the thing is that, what are you going to do about that? Occasionally we get Whole Foods trying to put in a healthy food store in the middle of Englewood, and it winds up closing down after a few years. And you know, and I don't blame inner city residents, because if you're poor and destitute, I mean, you just don't want to eat a banana. You want, or an apple. You want a Big Mac. That's the thing that's going to satisfy you. A bunch of empty calories. And so the do-gooders always, there was a Chicago radio station, the sports station, because, they feel guilty that they're talking about sports all the time. They did a fundraiser to create some healthy food choices in the inner city. And, it's good intentions. It's liberal do-goodism. But,
well, Michelle Obama was doing that, and what all it did was make the garbage bill more expensive for all the schools, because they were just scraping the plates into the trash.
Yeah, no, they won't eat it. Maybe Bette Midler could breastfeed everybody. I feel bad. I feel bad for these.
Well, it's what I wonder is because they came out recently and they said that if you're a guy and you turn down a transgender woman who wants to have relations with you, that's a hate crime.
Well, it's also a hate crime. I mean, what I love is that the lesbians who used to be, I mean, you couldn't have a more protected minority than lesbians. They are now being canceled because they're not attracted to trans women.
Huh.
So that's the J.K. Rowling, Dave Chappelle thing. And it's so. Yeah.
So I wonder if they're going to do the same thing with fat women.
Sure.
Is absolutely. If you turn down a fat woman, you're fatophobic.
Well, there should be a lottery for a marriage, and whoever you get, and till death do you part. So yeah, it's a sad. COVID itself discriminates against fat people. Like COVID is guilty of a hate crime, because the comorbidity of obesity is a leading indicator.
Did you see the Sports Illustrated cover?
Now, I thought that was a joke.
No.
It wasn't a parody.
No,
it wasn't a National Lampoon like Play Dead where they interviewed Ross Cartwright and there were no answers.
That's for real.
I saw two covers. One of them looked possible. The other one was, I have to say, grotesque. But I'm not sure which Sports Illustrated cover. That we'll tease everybody with that so that they can see. We can show it next week. First of all, the swimsuit issue is supposed to come out. Did this come out in February and I didn't notice it? That's when the swimsuit issue comes out.
Is it? Maybe it is a parody.
Yeah, I mean, you might have been hoodwinked.
I might have been.
Here we go.
There.
Yeah. Now the far one on that's not really a Sports Illustrated.
I heard it was real.
Okay.
I heard it was real. And you know what? In my opinion, when I saw that, it was. I thought to myself, that is the first swimsuit model that I might have a chance with.
Exactly. I got to tell you, I saw Elle Macpherson on a Friends rerun, and she's like the quintessential Sports Illustrated swimsuit model. Too skinny. I might want one of these more Zoftig women nowadays.
You like that a little better, huh?
She was a rail. Eat something. You eat like a bird. All right, Tim. Good first show back in season number 2.
I'm so excited.
And you did not hide it. Bruce Wolf, Tim Slagle, so long for the weekly wrap.